Greetings and welcome. In this video, we will delve into the complex and often harrowing history of Jim Crow laws, a system of legalized racial segregation that originated in the post-Civil War American South. These laws, deeply rooted in the antebellum period and further entrenched during the Reconstruction era, systematically marginalized and oppressed African Americans, affecting every aspect of social, economic, and political life. Our journey will explore the social context that gave rise to these cruel laws, examining their multifaceted implications on society. We will uncover the stories of the brave individuals who stood against these oppressive measures and discuss the lasting impact and ramifications that continued to be felt long after the dissolution of Jim Crow. Join us as we navigate through this significant part of American history, seeking to understand the depth of its influence and the ongoing struggle for racial equality in the United States. Welcome to our distinct YouTube space, a haven for those passionate about reconnecting with their lineage and exploring their family history. At gettingtotheroots.com, our mission is to navigate you through the enthralling realm of family topics. Whether you're embarking on a quest to trace your ancestors, if you're keen on crafting an elaborate family tree, orchestrating the ultimate family gathering, or aspiring to chronicle your family's stories through blogging, we're here to assist. Our channel is a hub for straightforward tutorials, actionable advice, and all-encompassing guides designed to support you at every stage of your journey. We delve into a range of topics, from the basics for beginners to sophisticated techniques for expert genealogists, ensuring there's something for everyone. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. Smash that subscribe button and join our dynamic community of heritage enthusiasts and guardians of family stories. Let's dive in. Origins and establishment of Jim Crow laws. The enduring structural architecture and historical impact of the Jim Crow laws form a significant chapter in the study of racial segregation in the United States. These laws, a series of oppressive regulations, played a pivotal role in entrenching systemic racial discrimination. Their perennial existence mired an entire race in the depths of systemic oppression, making their analysis vital for understanding the complex history of racial relations in America. Unveiling the intricate roots of these laws and comprehending their foundational elements opens avenues for understanding not only past racial dynamics, but also their enduring implications. Derived from a popular 19th century minstrel song that caricatured African Americans, the name Jim Crow came to represent a system of state-sanctioned racial segregation that permeated every aspect of the American society. From the late 19th century until the mid-20th century, this devastating socio-legal construct emerged in the post-Reconstruction South, a period that followed the abolition of racial slavery and witnessed a growing desperation among the white populace to retain the socio-economic hierarchy that slavery had fostered. The origins of Jim Crow laws are deeply rooted in the Black Codes that were implemented during the turbulent Reconstruction era, 1865 to 1877. These Black Codes were a set of restrictive laws designed specifically to limit the freedoms and civil rights of African Americans, particularly in the southern United States. They were instituted after the Civil War, in a time when the nation was grappling with the integration of formerly enslaved into society. The Black Codes sought to control and restrict the African American populace by imposing severe restrictions on their ability to work, move, vote, and live freely. These twin socio-political forces of the Black Codes and the subsequent Jim Crow laws represented a deliberate effort to undermine the 14th and 15th Amendments to the United States Constitution. The 14th Amendment granted citizenship and equal civil and legal rights to African Americans and those who had been enslaved. The 15th Amendment further extended these rights by guaranteeing that the right to vote could not be denied based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude. However, through the implementation of the Black Codes and Jim Crow laws, Southern states effectively circumvented these constitutional amendments. They did so by creating legal structures that enforced segregation and discrimination, denying African Americans the full rights and liberties that were ostensibly guaranteed to them. This period marked a significant and oppressive chapter in American history, highlighting the challenges faced in the struggle for racial equality and civil rights. Among the foundational elements of the Jim Crow laws, the principle of separate but equal stood as the keystone. This principle was legally institutionalized by the 1896 Supreme Court decision in Plessy v. Ferguson ruling, which validated racial segregation, so long as the facilities were ostensibly equal. This ruling, in essence, posited a veneer of constitutional permissiveness to the already rampant segregationist practices, thereby emboldening their widespread application. The Jim Crow laws encompassed a wide array of public spheres, enforcing mandatory segregation in transportation, education, public facilities, and housing. They also disallowed interracial marriages, anti-miscegenation laws, and severely constrained the voting rights of African Americans using trickery measures like literacy tests, poll taxes, and grandfather clauses. Moreover, the enforcement of these laws was perpetrated unilaterally and often violently, violating the constitutionally guaranteed equal protection under the law. These flagrant transgressions were not only state-sanctioned, but also socially lauded, as the Jim Crow era was characterized by widespread racial violence, epitomized by the horrific spectacles of public lynchings. While the Jim Crow laws around the U.S. ended officially with the passage of the Civil Rights Act, 1964, and the Voting Rights Act, 1965, their socio-cultural imprints are embedded within the societal psyche, revealing themselves in myriad forms of systemic racial disparities that persist in the present day. The de jure segregation may have been dismantled, but the de facto segregation continues, fueled by enduring prejudices and economic disparities. Owing to this, studying the genesis and foundational elements of Jim Crow laws becomes imperative to chart an informed course towards achieving racial equality. Implications and effects of Jim Crow laws. The societal ramifications of Jim Crow laws were vast and varied, grounded in a fundamental desire to cement white superiority. These laws entrenched the norms of racial segregation and discrimination, perpetuating the notion of racial inadequacy among African Americans. Public spaces became contested terrains, where the drawn lines of separation pervasively framed the social interactions. The normative backdrop was a climate of fear. African Americans were constantly at risk of violence in response to perceived violations of social norms, affording the white population a psychological advantage rooted in domination. This racial violence not only corroded the self-esteem of the victimized populace, but also replicated a hierarchy of racial subordination, impelling African Americans into a vortex of socio-psychic insecurity. Educational implications of Jim Crow laws. The doctrines of Jim Crow had a profound impact on education, enforcing rigid segregation allowed by the separate but equal principle established in Plessy v. Ferguson. This decree, however, was often a misnomer, as adequate resources and funds were rarely apportioned equally. School facilities for African American children were markedly inferior. Teachers were less qualified, and student-to-teacher ratios were almost invariably unfavorable. Deprived of equal educational opportunities and access to intellectual resources, generations of African Americans were subjected to an intentionally truncated scope of learning, significantly diminishing their future opportunities and socioeconomic mobility. Economic implications of Jim Crow laws. At an economic level, Jim Crow laws served to impoverish African Americans continuously. The rules imposed strict limitations on black labor, marshaling them into positions of servitude, both in their freedom and earning capacity. Racial discrimination in the realms of employment and promotion remained commonplace, curtailing the potential for economic advancement. Political implications of Jim Crow laws. Politically, a superordinate goal of Jim Crow laws was to suppress black voter turnout. The battery of literacy tests, poll taxes, and grandfather clauses presented insurmountable barriers for many African Americans looking to exercise their democratic rights. Consequently, the voice of an entire demographic was largely silenced, undercutting the principle of universal suffrage. The domination of white political supremacy was thus perpetuated, creating long-lasting disparities in representation and policymaking that extended past the official end of Jim Crow laws. The resistance against the Jim Crow laws witnessed the emergence of several influential figures, each bringing unique strategies and ideologies to the forefront of the civil rights movement. These individuals, through their courageous actions and thought leadership, played pivotal roles in challenging systemic racism and advancing the cause of racial equality. Among these was Rosa Parks, often hailed as the mother of civil rights. Her defiant refusal to give up her seat on a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama, became a symbol of civil disobedience. This act sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, a strategic nonviolent protest that demonstrated the economic power of the African American community, leading to the desegregation of the city's public transportation. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, co-founded by W.E.B. Du Bois, was instrumental in legally challenging Jim Crow laws. The NAACP's persistent legal battles culminated in landmark victories such as Brown versus Board of Education, which played a crucial role in dismantling public school segregation. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. emerged as a towering figure in the movement. His philosophy of nonviolent resistance and eloquent oratory galvanizing support across racial lines. His iconic "I Have a Dream" speech during the March on Washington remains a seminal moment in the quest for racial equality. The resistance also saw contributions from the Nation of Islam and figures like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. His teachings emphasized self-reliance, empowerment, and a separate identity for African Americans, which resonated with many facing the daily realities of segregation and discrimination. Marcus Garvey, another influential figure, advocated for the unity and economic independence of African Americans. His establishment of the Universal Negro Improvement Association provided a platform for promoting African American pride and cultural identity. Noble Drew Ali, founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, also played a significant role. His teachings about the dignity and worth of African Americans helped to foster a sense of pride and collective identity among his followers, challenging the inferiority narrative perpetuated by Jim Crow. Artists like Paul Robeson used their platforms to challenge societal norms. Robeson's music and films offered a subtle critique of racial inequality, promoting African American cultural heritage and fostering empathy among broader audiences. The Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, formed by young African American students, adopted direct action strategies like sit-ins and freedom rides, spotlighting civil rights issues on national and international stages. Thurgood Marshall, as the lead counsel for the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, played a strategic role in dismantling the legal foundations of Jim Crow, paving the way for his eventual appointment as the first African-American Supreme Court Justice. Alongside these prominent figures, countless unsung heroes, ordinary individuals in their daily lives, challenged Jim Crow laws in public spaces and institutions. Their collective resistance sustained a prolonged struggle for equality and justice. In conclusion, the enduring impact of Jim Crow laws continues to resonate within the African American community, leaving unhealed wounds that persist even in 2024. The remnants of its discriminatory ideologies are still discernible within our societal structures, serving as a stark reminder of the ongoing struggle for racial equality. This reality underscores the need for constant vigilance in recognizing and confronting the subtle, modern forms of discrimination that have evolved from these laws. The journey towards racial justice is dynamic and multifaceted, with the transition from explicit to implicit forms of discrimination adding layers of complexity to the fight for equality. It is a collective responsibility to remain aware and proactive in this struggle. We must actively engage in conversations, education, and policymaking to address these deep-seated issues. The call to action is clear. We must work together to build a society where the principles of equality and justice are not just ideals, but realities for all, regardless of race. Let us commit to this mission with unwavering dedication and resolve, honoring the legacy of those who fought against Jim Crow and continuing their fight for a just and equitable world. The echoes of the segregationist doctrines continue to reverberate and influence the contemporary race relations in America. The emergence of a new societal structure post-Jim Crow era continues to struggle as it wrangles with its deeply prejudiced past and seeks to establish a truly equitable future. The legacy of Jim Crow, therefore, persists as a reminder of a chapter never to be repeated and an inspiration for relentless pursuit of justice and equal rights. Thanks for watching Understanding Jim Crow Laws, a deep dive. Peace and love